So I've made some serious headway in tackling negative emotions like anxiety and depression. I've done therapy sessions, I've done multiple 10-day Vipassana Meditation Retreats, 2 hours of daily meditation, integrating Buddhist wisdom, doing men's work, psychology, counseling, reading science. And today I want to talk about and take you back 2 years ago to when I started my journey with counseling and therapy, and talk about what I wish my therapist told me to help avoid the pitfalls and the traps that I fell into along the way, of feeling alone in my suffering, of feeling anxious, of feeling depressed, of feeling like I had no hope, like my therapy wasn't doing anything for me. By the way, this video takes inspiration from my friend Nick Keomahavong. He has an excellent channel. I'll link his video in the description. So this video is taking his concept and bringing it through the lens of a 24-year-old who's gone through the grit freshly and is still sort of in the grit. But if you're new here, my name's Sam Roth and I make weekly videos on spirituality, science, and psychology to optimize your mental health and make a positive impact in the world. So if that's of interest to you, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to receive updates when I release new videos. So I want to take you back 2 years ago, tell you a bit about my story so you understand where I'm coming from before we get into the video here. Now, I want you to picture me coming home from university on a long day of study, of being socially anxious at university, completely contracted, closed down, just wanting to escape and get away. I would go to my room, crack on my computer, and as soon as I would get home, I would jump on the video games and play games like PUBG, Age of Empires, all sorts of games for hours, sometimes up to 10 hours a day, to avoid that anxiety, negative emotion, and difficulty that I was facing. And this went on for years and years. I also wrestled with things like imposter syndrome at work. I felt like I wasn't good enough working as a cardiac technician after graduating my degree of biomedical science, and just felt like I couldn't contribute my full best self to work because of this anxiety of feeling floaty and contracted in my head, and it's a general feeling of lack, which is what ended up getting me to go see a therapist in the first place. So I entered in with my therapist and I sat down and I talked to him and I opened up about these problems. You know, I'm having workplace anxiety, I'm feeling anxious and I can't control it. It's really debilitating. And he gave me tools. He gave me practical tools to use. And the tools that he gave me were along the lines of reframing, of taking the difficulty that I was having and transmuting it through various verbal cues to change my perception of it. Now, this certainly has utility, but I want to go back to what I wish I would have heard instead, what I wish my therapist told me in this moment. And the first thing is, get out of your head and into your heart. See, I can think back to when I was in the workplace and my therapist was giving me these prompts to take in when I'm feeling difficulties, that I wasn't feeling good enough, that I was feeling anxious, to tell myself, oh, it's okay, just go into another room, you know, I'm here to do this for other people. But you notice these are thoughts going on in the head. I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, I need to do that. So the West is very heady. We're very up in our head about a lot of things, constantly thinking and trying to rationalize and problem solve our way out of a difficulty, as opposed to just relaxing into the body and feeling it. So if you do this with me right now, if you take a deep breath and you let it out, you instantly feel a relaxation from your head and into your heart. And that is what I'm talking about. And I think that's where these sorts of verbal prompts that my therapist gave me all those years ago, that sort of did me wrong in a way that kept me up in my head, whereas opposed to just breathing and letting it out down into your heart region. It's a completely different way of being. It's a way that grounds you into the present moment, that even if you're feeling anxious and scared, you're in touch more with reality, because when you're up in your head, you feel really floaty and disconnected, and it doesn't feel authentic and true that you're truly just feeling the experience. At least that's my experience of it. When you step into this place, you know more clearly how to respond and what to do. So that's the first thing I wish my therapist told me, to take a deep breath and enter that heart space. Now, the second thing I wish my therapist told me is to find stillness and discover my true nature. After my first 10-day Vipassana Meditation Retreat, I learned pretty quickly what my deepest desires were, what my biggest fears were, what my relationship preferences preferences were, what I like doing, what invigorates me, and what depresses me. Why? Well, you can't hide from your thoughts in meditation. You see them plain as day. What you don't like, what you do like, what's driving your neurotic holding patterns. Well, I discovered things about myself, like I like discovering solutions and neurotic holding patterns about suffering and sharing that with other people. I like talking about deep things. I don't like shallow talk. I learned that I'm more introverted and I need time to recuperate from social encounters. I learned that I'm more interested in mental health as opposed to cardiac healthcare, like I used to be involved with. I learned that going out and clubbing wasn't for me, and that I'm interested in nature and awe, and I find beauty in small things. I learned that all through meditation. And what I found that was generating a lot of anxiety for me was a lack of alignment with these truths of my experience, where I found that I thought I had to be extroverted and outgoing to be liked and to be seen. I thought that was so important, but it turns out that I can just be just as fine by being introverted, by doing things by myself and finding solitude in my own mind. So I wish that my therapist told me to encourage me more deeply to find more stillness, to sit in solitude and to discover my own mind rather than using these verbal tools in situations of difficulty. And as an addition to the previous, I wish that my therapist told me to nurture my strengths, knowing that I'm okay, knowing that all the things that I'm interested in are uniquely me. They're a unique expression of myself. And we can get psychological about this. You know, people have personality distributions with the big 5 personality model that we're given, that we're born with, that we have to learn to become in alignment with. And that each of these unique expressions of personality are beautiful. They're beautiful and each add their own flavor to a concoction that is life. So what I wish my therapist really told me and honed in on me was that who I am is a unique expression in the universe. You know, so often we see movies, we see other people doing things and we want to be like them, and it's kind of idolized to be this extroverted, popular, amazing person with no problems, right? Your own unique expression is amazingly beautiful. So I want you to just picture this metaphor, right? You walk into the kitchen and there's all of these different spices. You know, you've got cumin, you've got turmeric, you've got basil, you've got oregano, right? You are one of those spices. Now, oregano might represent something like introversion. You add that to a dish. It goes beautifully with pastas and maybe meats or something like that. But if you add turmeric, i.e. extroversion, then it's not going to be nearly as good. See, each flavor has a unique way and a unique contribution to the world. You can own your oregano-ness or your turmericness. All right, I'm pushing this analogy a bit far, but hopefully my point is coming across. But I think to not hold on to that too tightly as well. You know, it's so easy to put ourselves into this box. I'm an introverted person, I'm an anxious person. But I think to hold on to that box loosely, and owning our own powerful and authentic expression, but not clinging to it so tightly that if any alteration to it occurs, for example, you know, I used to think I was very high in introversion, but it turns out that that was only because I had self-limiting beliefs. And these self-limiting beliefs made me more introverted than I thought, because if I was socially anxious, therefore I must be an introvert. But as I've overcome that, that isn't entirely the case, and I'm more open to people. The 4th thing I wish my therapist told me is to find a community. Therapy can be very self-oriented, but the reality is we're social creatures. The Buddha said that of the 3 jewels of Buddhism, Sangha, or community, is actually the most important of the 3. You need to know that you're not alone in your struggles. Men need men and women need women. I know from my experience that you can get so locked into therapeutic sessions with a therapist, and you know, this week I've got this problem, this week I've got that problem, this week I've got this problem, on and on and on. But there's an alternative. I want to tell you a story back when I first went to a community session. Being a socially anxious person, it was one of the most terrifying things that I'd ever done. To rock up to a men's group circle, to open up about my feelings and talk about my feelings of lack, it scared the shit out of me. But there was part of me that knew that I needed to do it because I needed to face my fear. And I remember parking in the car park and I was just sitting in my car, breathing heavily, just really tight and scared, horrified, man, just socially anxious, almost sweating in the car, got out of the car and walked over, and then the first thing is I meet this guy at the door and he gives me a big hug. A big warm hug, you know? And immediately I knew that there was something more to having a community. And that night, I remember sitting down amongst this group of men and hearing other men open up about problems and difficulties, emotional difficulties, whether it was anger, whether it was fear, whether it was sadness about losing a loved one. You know, I figured out that I'm not alone in my suffering. I have my own unique suffering, but it is, you know, in community, you can hold that. There's so many people who are willing to listen to you. And when you are listened to, that is one of the most empowering things that you can do, to let off steam off your chest. So I wish my therapist told me about this. I wish my therapist told me to not just see him, but also to connect to other people. I think David Goggins just says that everyone is fucked up, but some people are just better at hiding it than others. Like, I just got back from one of the most profound men's work, 5-day men's work retreats of my life. And what I found with a group of other 20-year-old men my age is that everyone is so messed up in a beautiful way. There is no hiding the bullshit when you connect to community. When a container is provided for you to speak out what's going on in your mind, whether it's social anxiety, whether it's a feeling of lack, whether it's a feeling of rage and anger that's bottled up, like, people can hold that for you. And it's one of the most empowering things that you'll ever experience in your life. Well, I'm eternally grateful to all of the therapists who have helped me out. They've helped me tremendously along my journey, but I just wish my therapist told me to take a deep breath, get out of my head, enter my heart region, to find stillness and be okay with my true nature of introversion, of deep inquiry and discovering antidotes and cures to suffering, of being in awe of nature and finding solitude in my own mind, and to nurture that and to know that my authentic expression is beautiful and can really contribute back to the world in my own unique way. And then to find community. I wish my therapist told me to find a community and connect with them, because they will hold you, they will support you, and they will love you if you are willing to just push through the fear, the initial fear, and go and see them. It will transform you, Sam. I'm telling this to younger Sam right now. God, I'm passionate about it right now. So guys, thank you for watching this video. I really love you, and thank you for watching it out to the end. Click this video now if you want to check out what I wish my meditation teacher told me now, and I'll see you over there.